Beth just said goodbye to her polka dot heels.
Goodbye?
She sold them on Mercari to Shelley, who gladly said
hello.
Just after she said goodbye to a set of bright orange cookware.
Really, Mom? Citrus?
They sold quickly on Mercari to Dan.
Whoa, these are groovy.
Then Dan sold his rollerblades on Mercari.
Bye-bye. I bike now.
Which took us back to where we started with Beth, who said,
Hello, rollerblades. Whee!
Buy and sell almost anything from home with Mercari, your marketplace. Find it on the app stores or Mercari.com.
This is your boy, Neil McKnight. This is the latest episode of The Cray. We have a special guest in the house. I didn't even fan out because I was trying to keep my composure. I was literally sweating bullets. Soleil Moon Frye is in the building. My childhood crush, even though I'm older than her. My childhood crush, I'm like spazzing the fuck out right now. Punky Brewster, my sister and I used to watch it. I mean, I can't even look at you. I can't even make eye contact. That's why I'm
That's my whole year.
That's why I'm wearing fucking sunglasses. It's not because I'm trying to be cool. It's because like I wear
sunglasses because I'm light sensitive.
Oh my God, I would have worn sunglasses to match my little stars are hard.
And my household is very Jewish because I converted. Obviously, my wife and my mother-in-law. God bless.
It was a choice for you.
Yeah, it was like my mother-in-law was like, he's black and he's not Jewish. You better figure it out.
Don't you think? Let me ask you, because I actually thought about this and I don't think we ever talked about it. But, there was the whole BLM was big last summer, and then obviously the whole Palestinian-Israeli conflict. It was an issue this year, and it felt like, a lot of Jews felt like they weren't getting the support that they gave to the black community for Black Lives Matter, and they weren't feeling it was reciprocated like Jews. I'm not one of those Jews, but there are some of those Jews that felt that way, and I felt like, you have like guys out there that are black and Jewish who can bridge the gap between the black and Jewish communities, because you have two people that really have been persecuted over time, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And I thought that Drake, obviously,
I was just about to say that
would be great, but he's not really doing it. So I just want to nominate you, O'Neill,
and listen,
to become the face of the black Jew in America.
I take it. You can come to my house. Passover, Rosh Hashanah, Sukkot.
But I think you have to do it for both communities.
I think it brings up. I think to the point though, the larger point, and let me be very clear. When we joke around and things like that, I am incredibly proud of my heritage, and I'm incredibly proud of all of my heritage, and I'm super proud that we do embrace so many philosophies into our home, and it is incredibly important, I think now more than ever, that we actually really understand history, because what we've been told in history books for so long, there's so many inaccuracies, obviously. So that, to me, is the bigger dialogue, is how do we actually teach our kids about the truth in history?
Right.
Because I look at my dad
but so much of that
and
will
my
always
family
be
during
debated,
the civil rights movement, and how much, that is what he was most proud of being a part of.
Right.
And that's so within the DNA lines of how proud I am to be a part of that, and that my kids are raised knowing that history, and so many families are not exposed to that, because
you have people out there denying the Holocaust too,
system.
right? You know what I mean? It's like there are people out there. Oh, there is no racism. I mean, I don't know how we get everybody on the same page.
We have to teach true history,
and
like go back to like the roots, and that goes for everyone. That goes for the indigenous people. It goes for all people.
Right. I mean, it would just be nice to be in a world raising kids now where people do understand where we came from, so we could see a place that's better to get to, right?
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, it's crazy that you're saying that. I've said it before, obviously my household's interracial. My daughter is half white, half black. My wife is Jewish, and we have pretty much like a Jewish household for the most part. And, just like Soleil was saying about just knowing the history and what we were taught, and finding out more about my own personal history, and just knowing where I came from was a big part, because I've been building my daughter's family tree. And my wife's history, it reads like a book.
Yeah.
And, backtracking mine, there's some slavery, I'm 4% German, I'm 3% a Western European, a whole lot of African, but just breaking down.
And kosher as fuck.
And kosher as fuck. and just breaking that down, but just wanting to know more about myself and where I came from and how I got here, and just making sure that my daughter understands that as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Kid 90 just got nominated for a Critic Choice Award.
Watched it twice.
Yes.
I watched it once, but it was...
I watched it the first week it came out, and then I rewatched it this last week. So I'm up
So
to
you're
2
twice
times.
there also.
Yes. Yeah.
No,
I saw it last week at Holly Wiersman's house, and I hit Soleil the next morning, and I was like, I was like legitimately fucking moved from that thing. And I think obviously if I wasn't here, I probably just would have fucking tripped and geeked on the people that are in it and seeing them all young.
Yeah.
And seeing this world that kind of orbited around you, right? Because it's your perspective, it's your point of view, and you're in the center of this. But having been in it and seeing everybody young, and I said this to you, remembering, what it felt like to be 20-something in Hollywood in the 90s. Me personally, coming off like an indie film, kind of Sundance film, and being so passionate about like art and finding ourselves, and that kind of like, for me it was like being an auteur, but it was like all of us were like in it, and it's crazy. It's just a different world now, and it's. I
have to say it meant so much when you told me your perspective on it, because for me, my dream, and we've spoken about this, that was that people would take it and watch it through their own lens and connect to their own nostalgic parts of themselves.
Right.
And it was so beautiful to hear that from you, because you did live so much of it with me. I don't know if you guys know, Rob and I have been friends for decades,
Yeah,
and
it was crazy.
And I
Even my
remember
younger
you
brother,
moving out
he's
here, and
in
we were
it,
just
yeah.
all such fans of your film, and you just had this incredible energy, and your brothers, whom I love so much, and it was such an
this wild
amazing.
90s
Oh yeah,
Hollywood
I mean, we were
relationship
running around and
yeah.
hooking up and playing and having all night dance parties, and it was there was an energy here and in New York that was so authentic, and we could so be our authentic selves, and we didn't have cell phones capturing every moment and filtering our lives, and it was such an incredible time, and there I was just documenting it all because it was such a colorful world, and I just loved it so much.
I think there's and I don't know the words of what I'm just listening to you. It felt like back then everybody was trying to figure out who they wanted to be, right? What they wanted to be, and it felt so. That's the thing about, I think you really feel that from people, versus now I feel like so many young people are trying to figure out who they want people to think they are.
Absolutely.
Right, because we have
now
this,
we're in a
this
perception
phone
society.
at the palm of our hands, in which
But it's the social, it's the communication tool. Yeah.
It's so wild, and at the same time, realizing, well, first of all, like, what is the effect that has on these next generations,
right?
And how does that affect them? And then there's a beautiful component of them finding like-minded people, and so it's like, how do you feed into those positives and try to hold perspective so that they still can live in this incredible world of exploration beyond the phone and social media.
What was crazy? What was crazy to me watching the doc was, growing up in South Carolina and watching, you on TV, you were off in Hollywood, Soleil Moon Frye, Michael Jackson, the cast from Facts of Life and Different Strokes and all these different shows. You guys were never real to us. You know what I mean? And watching your doc made you human to me. So it really made me fall in love with you even. I get emotional shit. It made me really fall in love with you even more, because like, wow, she was a real person outside of the TV show. She had a real life. She had trials and tribulations, and just the way it was shot, and just you having
it's
all
a
this
warts and
footage.
all kind of thing. I think people who haven't seen it should know that. It's like there's just moments in there that you're like, whether it's, obviously I don't want to get too far into it, but the virginity aspect or
Yeah.
Even being sick and drug use and alcohol and
right. I think it's
Punky
really
Brewster,
I think it's like a coming of age.
Those are real deal,
Thank you. I mean, it really has been. It's been a coming of age of both my teen self and adult self. And I remember at one point, Sean, who has been so incredibly supportive on it, and and I was having one of these moments, as an artist where you break down and you just feel like, oh, I just want it to, I just want to make it so, I want it to connect to people, it was like my heart and my life, and so much of my life changed through the process of it, and the pain and the reliving and the ghosts from the past, and there was so much beauty and there was so much pain in reliving it. And he said to me, I don't think there's any more universal story than the coming of age story, and that was really
that time,
hit me, and it was exactly coming of age at that time, and then that my adult self, present day, was coming of age again through the teen girl that I was reconnecting with.
What do you mean? I was coming of age again as a filmmaker watching that shit. I was like, I used to love movies. I want to make fucking movies. What the fuck am I doing with my life?
Dude,
I'm a fucking 85-year-old podcast host. The fuck did I do? No, but I was so passionate when I got out here. It was just like, no. I turned down every movie. No. I was like a fucking auteur. And then somehow, like, the whole TV thing happened, and I'm like, I just want to be rich, man. How do I get fucking rich up in here? I think there's got to be a medium somewhere where you really kind of re-engage, like...
Well, it's that spark, right? Yes. It's that rediscovery
it's in there.
Of spark. And I think it's interesting because so much of my life changed. I call it a transformation, because I think after you've been married for like 20-something
years,
that's
the other crazy thing.
Like
it's
anything other than that, my life fully...
Yes, you're going through a lot of transition anyway. I'll tell you, the craziest thing was, it was Soleil's birthday last week. I went by her house Friday night, and seeing you with grown children, they were like, "This is so," like, some girl came over and they're like, "This is Soleil's daughter." I was like, "Holy fuck, way to go!" Like, I was just like, "Oh, nice to meet you." I'm like, "Where did it all go, man? Where did it all fucking go?"
I can only imagine you making this doc. It was like therapy for you.
Yes.
Because I was literally watching it in my living room, and my wife came in and was like, "Why the fuck are you curled up on the couch like this?" And I'm like, "I'm watching this dog. It's Soleil Moon Frye." She was like, "What are you talking, Punky Brewster?" Yeah. She sat down, and then she started crying. Aww. And we're literally sitting on the couch watching this doc, and I'm like, seeing, been in the industry for a while. Some of those people I now know, I'm really good friends with Robin Thicke, and seeing little Robin Thicke pop in the camera. I'm your Rob.
Yeah, that was crazy too. I didn't realize, I didn't know he was in the business, but then it made sense.
Yeah, I was like, yo, Rob, I'm watching you right now in the doc. I was like, you're like a kid, you're like at Six Flags or some shit. He was like, what? He's, oh God, I gotta check it out. But it was just all these different, it was art. It was real.
Yeah, it was.
art.
And the music's amazing. You had amazing tracks in there.
No, it was
really
art.
And
what I loved about it, and I think a lot of times when people create art, they're doing it for themselves and their healing process, but they don't realize how many other people they're healing in the process. So I just want to tell you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You made me cry.
No, for real, I appreciate
it. It really means.
Yeah, so
much.
part of the, I mean, like I said before, my brother's in it. There's a million people I know, and like all those kids, from back in the day. But I was super tight with Danny Boy O'Connor from House of Pain.
Yes.
So was I.
Yes.
So am I.
But I never fully understand the
reconnected.
nature of their relationship, and maybe we could get into that a little bit, because Danny picked me up one night. He's like, "Yo, we're going to a party at Soleil's," and it was the one where the pool was right out back in the house.
because we lived in this little house
And
in
I
the
was
valley,
like-
and all
and I
there
was
was
always
a
like-
little pool and some like a 2-foot cement little
But I was
thing
always like,
around it.
"Oh, it's so weird. House of Pain, Danny Boy O'Connor's tight with Punky Brewster, Soleil Moon Frye." I'm like, this is a weird dynamic, but they were super, super close. Obviously, you get into that relationship in the doc, and that really is a big part of what threw me back into the 90s, was seeing young Danny and that attitude. And the craziest thing is, we should pull him up and talk to him, because the craziest thing is Danny looking at young Danny with the fucking trip.
Right? Wait,
When
now
he's
are we
looking
gonna
himself
get to
"Damn,
see
that
him
guy."
also?
Yes,
oh my
let's
God,
pop
this is
him
very
up.
exciting.
Good to hear your voice, Rob. It's been a minute.
I know, man. It's fucking crazy, bro.
I love you, Danny.
I'm gonna talk about him.
You too. It's good to hear your voice as well. He's got a very unique Long Island Jewish voice.
Yes.
And he reminds me of one of my best friends, Yohai Weiss from Throg's Neck or Great Neck or some type of neck, but they got the same nuances in the way they talk. It's got to be a Long Island thing.
I don't know, man. It just doesn't change, you know? The voice
good.
doesn't change.
You're so lucky. That would have been kind of messed up if you lost it. Because some people come here and they lose their accent.
I think I did lose it. I lost it for a while, and then I went back to New York to do that How to Make an America show. And like the minute I got the people, hey, and I'm like, hey, how you doing, man? What's up?
And it came right back.
It just kind of rolled right back in, you know? But
were you becoming a little too like LA sounding?
I don't, to me, LA is very nondescript. Like I never really, unless it's like some kind of OC like lingo
or Valley Girl.
Or Valley Girl, like which is like more vernacular than it is accent. But outside of that, like I don't really know what an LA accent is.
Right. Well,
But
we're
New
such
York,
a melting
you hear
pot.
it, it's like, hey,
What up, bro?
Yeah, what's up, you know?
Hey, yo, Tony.
So, yeah. Yeah, man, I think the first time I met you was with Micky Ward. Was that the first time up at Outlaw?
It was a loft party, and I lent Garen Swing $2,000. He was doing it with your brother or your cousin. I forget.
Oh man, that
like, yo,
fucking
we
bro. We don't.
party,
He's on the he's on the list of names that don't get mentioned. That fucking guy. So we'll beep out that name. But that motherfucker. The last time I spoke to him was the day my son was born. Like I haven't said a word to that guy. I remember
That's crazy.
He was a part of that other thing. I remember we were like. Remember we had the whole. I mean, man, we could go down memory lane.
Between you and Soleil, I think you two are the only people who have been like. You see me at the, when it was, those are still good times. At least they were for me. They were, everything was just, and then you've seen the worst. And, touching on Kid 90 at the end, when all of those faces go up, or the people who are no longer with us, at that point, it hit me like, a ton of bricks that, the gratitude to come out of all of that. I mean, you're just touching on things that are like, those are like blips. It got a lot worse, even in the good times. I mean, I remember you coming over in my house and just seeing the arsenal and being like, what the is going on in here? And that was like, it was so fast lane back then. And there really were like nobody pulling me back. You know what I mean? I don't know about you guys, but.
Yeah, you went through a lot. You definitely went through a lot of periods. I remember like, when Bruce was getting single and you were single and you guys were dealing with like some crazy shit. But like, I think that's the thing about LA that people understand is like, if you're going to come here and you're going to be here, you got to prepare to experience some serious ups and downs. And you're gonna probably lose some people in your life because they're either gonna drop the fuck out and go back to wherever they came from, or frankly, they're just gonna die, man. I mean, I lost like 3-4 friends in the last half dozen years, and I mean, it sucks, man, and all before their time. And
I was like, when I was waiting, you guys were talking, so I was privy to the conversation. You guys were talking about finding yourself and going through that coming of age. By the time I was 21 and I made that first $1 million with House of Pain, that I had found myself because I had come from such an unstable environment and unwanted in that environment anyway, that by the time I got there, that was finding myself. So I was like, like a character defect parade in 3D, because all I wanted to do was like live at that fantasy world that I had, that was out for me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was on a whole different mental trip than most people were going through of like, finding yourself and who you try. I was like, I'm this, and that shit almost killed me. So I'm glad.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy to see your evolution, man. And I mean, I think the outside of house is super, super exciting. I got to get to Tulsa at some point.
It's amazing.
No doubt.
And tell us what's going on with that project, where it's at right now.
So I mean, in a nutshell, after House of Pain was done, I had no way to really sustain that type of life. So I ended up in a world of drugs and alcohol and all that kind of stuff. And it took me a while to find my way back. And I've had 2 sobrieties. And my first one, I ran back into you. No, this is actually my second one. So I ran, Rob, I don't know if you remember when the sneaker thing was popping and we were trying to talk about something. I told Soleil to tell you, like, I still say it to this day, and then I'll get into where I'm at now. But when I was newly sober, I would come up with a million different ideas. And Rob, you were like, the entourage was popping for you. It was just starting to become a real big thing. And so I would come to Rob and I would pitch him with ideas. And at the end, it was always like, the idea was like, I got this great idea and you're going to pay for it. And finally, one day you told me, and I never forget it, because I tell people now when they hit me with the same shit, I'm like, bro, rob me, don't rob with me and shit. Like, or the opposite, actually, don't rob me, rob with me. And you said that to me. And I don't know if that makes sense to anybody else who's listening. But it's one of those things. I spent almost too long, 15 years or so, constantly coming up with an idea, not implementing it, starting it over, and it was like a downward spiral. So in 2000,
it sounds like everything I experienced too out here, man. It's just hard. Not all of them make it.
And it probably doesn't make sense out of context. And as soon as I start to talk, I start to hear, like, my point is this. You get something to pop, and I would assume that you could just do anything after that. And so to have a really big project like House of Pain go, and then not have that magic anymore, whatever that magic is, to watch Everlast go on to greater successes, Lethal join Limp Bizkit and go on. And for me, I was like on a downward spiral. So by the time I came up for air, I didn't know what I was supposed to do for a living. I just stayed sober. I put one foot in front of the other. I always had another, like I knew that there was a second act. I just couldn't figure out what it was. And it took me literally almost 15 years to find it. But 5 years into sobriety, I put a second group together called the Coca Nostra. It ends up becoming like 2 House of Pain and a few other groups put together. It brings me on tour. I haven't been on tour in a decade at that point. And it brings me to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And we have a 3-day layover here. And I start to go, Tulsa, it sounds so familiar. Why do I know it? And it hits me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, oh, fuck. The Outsiders is from here. Now, that movie came out in '83. I'm 52 years old. I seen that movie as a kid, and I related to that in more ways than one. My father went to prison when I was 2 months old. I grew up with my grandparents. We came to California when I was 6. I go back every summer. So I had an East Coast, West Coast thing, but I was an outcast or an outsider in LA. Just people, they spoke different. They called me Disco Dan, which was fighting words back then. I loved Motown and disco, but to be a suburban white kid with that mentality, I was just completely from another world to them. So the Outsiders come out. I relate to that. It was always like my cut. So when I got here and I realized that the book was written here and that the movie was filmed here, I ended up going looking for locations. I found the drive-in from the movie, which is incredible. I don't know how many places have drive-ins anymore, but we still have the original one from there. I found the park where Johnny kills the Soch, sticking up for Ponyboy. And by finding the park, I was able to find the house. It was early 2009. We may forget, but I had a flip phone still and a new BlackBerry. It was still the iPhones weren't like, they might have dropped, but they didn't work like they do now. They were still like some, but why I tell you that is because it's the first time ever I was able to like look something up, take a photo, be in front of it, post it on the internet, and people were like, oh shit. So I post a photo of me in front of the Outsiders house, and everybody I know is starting to lose it. They're like, that's my favorite movie. Where is that on the Warner Brothers set? How come is it still really there? I'm like, nah, it's in Tulsa. So for the next 5 years, I'm obsessed with like all of these pop culture locations and the Outsiders house, and it just keeps bothering me. So every year I would come back and check on this house. And after doing that for 5 years, I thought, man, they're going to lose this house. It was starting to fall apart. They were going to tear it down. And I find the owner. I asked for help. I get out of my own way, and I asked the community for help, and the help came in ways that I could never imagine. The author kicked in. Basically, Tulsa picked me up and just put me on their back, and they started helping do this thing. Bro.
That's awesome.
If you don't know what like for anybody listening, in a nutshell, The Outsiders is a movie. It's based on the book by S.C. Hinton. S.C. Hinton wrote that book.
Hell yeah, and Rumblefish, man.
Oh, she wrote, yeah, of course. But so she
wrote it in 10th grade.
I know, it's sick.
15 and a half. She's failing English and gets a D+ in creative writing. That book starts a category, the young adult book category. That category is not insignificant. It's actually the #1 selling category in all of books, and her book is the one that starts that. What do you mean?
I just bought Sean a whole bunch of Judy Blume books for his birthday.
There you go.
Yeah, Sean loves young adult stuff, right, Sean?
Yeah.
Danny, before I moved to LA, like Jump Around dropped, right? I remember, and this is still when MTV was like popping in New York, and I remember seeing it going like, yo, these motherfuckers are cool, man. They were cool. That and 90210 were like the two things on my radar, I got to go out with the girl from 90210, and I got to hang out with the dude from House of Pain. But part of the big thing about you was the whole Irish thing. with you, man. The Irish thing is big.
No doubt.
So I'm going to ask you, as an Irish dude, who is your favorite fighter?
Boxer?
Yeah, as a boxer, not MMA, boxing.
Oh, I mean, Mike Tyson growing up. I
Yo,
mean,
we knew he was going to say Mike Tyson.
We knew he was going to say Mike Tyson.
Who's
listen,
your...
I cried when Mike got out of prison and he lost that fight. I was with Peter Green in a bar at the Pig and Whistle or whatever, and they had the fight on and he lost, man. Literally, we went out. I cried because I didn't visibly cry, but I was like, oh shit, it's over. Like the end of the era of like that 80s Public Enemy, Mike Tyson, that whole, it's over. And it hit me like a ton of bricks that it's over, and that like, where do we go from here? Crazy.
Well, we had a couple. So after Tyson, being like Irish and proud, who is your next favorite fighter?
This is the setup because you're trying to bring someone in. I don't know. Irish Micky Ward, I like.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Yo, you're gonna hang out with us, right?
Of
We're gonna
course.
bring Micky in real quick. You gonna hang out?
You know, I got an event with him next week, right?
You do?
See,
Let's talk about it right now. For anybody who's
Yeah.
watching, everybody should know who Micky Ward is. Probably the quickest shortcut to say who Micky Ward is. Wahlberg played him in The Fighter, so he's been immortalized in that. But he's had some epic fucking wars in the ring.
Wait, did Christian Bale play him or
no? Christian Bale played his brother Dickie.
Yeah.
There you go. That's
But
right.
Mark played Mickey.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
You know,
right.
Mickey's much better looking than Mark is. You know, and smoother and cooler.
Do you see the physics of my life? That it just all. I
And
love
you know
there's-
Mark,
well, of course.
well.
And you know, Einstein has this whole idea. You know, you set the frequency to that which you want to receive, and that's
Right.
what comes back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm
but how do
such
you
a
do
believer.
that? We need
Look
to
at
get-
we're all here right now. Anybody that says
Yeah, but I want to set some
anyone
other
that says
motherfucking frequencies.
anyone
you know
anyone
what I'm
that says it's a small world, I go, it's physics. Like
Yeah.
you study quantum physics, and it's like that's what
Because
this
it's
is.
crazy
Look
because
at
you're
the
talking about
synergy of all
Mark
this.
and watching your documentary and listening to the voicemail. He's like,
yeah, it's Mark Wahlberg, yeah.
Soleil, it's Mark Wahlberg. And I was like, oh, shit.
Yo, he's the second. Yo, Mark's the second best. Danny's got some good voicemail, some voice messages also, but the best is, hello, Soleil, it's Charles. Hello, Soleil, it's Charles.
The
Sheen.
best is that I
Yeah.
saved those voicemails
Yes,
for decades.
Yeah, it's sick. It's really kind of fucking.
So we got
hysterical.
Mickey in the building.
So we got Mickey in. He's doing a lot of shit, but he's gonna, after we're done with Danny Boy, he's gonna tell us a little bit about this new project, Live Train. But guys, go through what's going on in Tulsa next week.
It's the Golden Globes. Like it comes here every year, and Mickey's the highlighted guest, and they always ask me as you know to come and check out the fights, and I always do. I've been here 3 years, so I've been all 3 years, and this year they're like, hey, would you just do a little VIP meet and greet with Mickey? I'm like, absolutely. So as soon as I got the word, I went online and bought me an Irish flag. It's on its way now. I insist on
I
getting
could have
it
brought
signed,
you one.
and,
And I was saying to Mickey, my dad was a 4-time Golden Glove champion, and so,
But Mick,
and so
you didn't
sitting
start
here
in
with
the
Mickey,
gloves,
I mean,
right?
like, this is huge.
No, I started. I was 7 years old. My first fight. I started just like special. My first fight ever
But at
was
7
on-
years old. Is that organized or is that in kindergarten?
It was no. It was in the ring. I
Really?
fought Freddie Roach's brother Joey.
Holy shit!
oh, get out.
Yeah, Freddie's
Shout out
brother
to Freddie,
Joey.
too.
Joey was like 11. I think I was 7 or 10. I was 7.
Can I say something
I didn't realize
that
you
is
started
totally
that young in
unrelated, but I think
organization.
this is amazing? Mickey's voice is so soothing to me. You know how they have the Calm app?
Yeah.
And like,
Yes.
and they have like Harry Styles?
Yeah.
The Calm app for me in life, because I love like this is so fulfilling to
soothing.
my soul. Like I was
He
the
does- he
kid, like
does-
Godfather 2, Mean Streets, like Taxi Driver, my
Yeah.
favorite films. I just need Mickey talking, and that would
I
like
think that's
soothe
a compliment
me
to
to sleep.
say to people. Yeah.
So Mickey, I
wow.
really would like for you to.
That's the first time I've heard that.
some
That's cool.
nighttime
Is that true?
stories for Soleil.
What's that?
Is that true? That's
I
the
get-
first
I
time
get-
you ever heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, yeah.
It's beautiful though. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, well, he's a nice guy.
It's very
Yeah.
calming.
Yeah.
I've had some great
It's
comments.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I'm calm now.
Yeah. So 7 years old, your first fights.
Yeah.
What's the first time you get paid for the fight? I know you weren't getting paid at 7.
No, you don't get paid in the images and stuff. First time was 19 when I turned
Right.
pro. Yeah.
Wow.
Was it $400 I got paid? First
Wow.
fight.
What did you
100
do
bucks
with the
amount.
money?
What?
Did you got to give like 300 to your manager?
No, not back then. No. 10%. Third. No.
Okay, so then, Mickey, what happens after? Like, because I'm so fascinated by the story, and I love the.
He was telling the amazing Tyson thing. We got he's Danny. He's got a great Tyson story about them being on it wasn't like the Junior Olympics, but you guys were.
Well, it was regionals. We fought in I won New England, he won New York, and we went up to Lake Placid to fight against each other, like New England, New York, and a couple other states. And the winner of that went to Colorado Springs to represent Region 1 in the Nationals. And I won my weight class up there. He won his weight class. We were teammates in Colorado Springs. He was heavyweight. I was 139. And that's when we became friends.
How was the transition of watching Mike go from? Because it's crazy when you watch those.
He's the same built as he is now.
No, he's the same build,
right? Or big,
But what I'm saying is, I remember meeting Tyson in Palladium in, I want to say it was '84. I think he just won the championship, and a buddy of mine grabbed him and said, "Yo, man, you got a girl in Albany." Right, you got a girlfriend. He's like, I got girls everywhere, and he just kind of walked off. He was super sweet, and he was really chill, right?
Yeah.
And then
that was a really good Tyson, by the way.
It's better
I
than
probably could spit it out with just one line.
Really
That's it. But he just things got a little bit twisted, right?
Yeah.
As the career progressed, but then it's kind of like he came out the other side. When he did Entourage, he was already cool as fuck and chilled out.
Yeah.
And with the one-man show, he has had a lot of interesting
ups and downs,
kind of character development. You know what I mean?
He's gone through a lot. I mean, at a young age, he went through a lot. I mean, you know what I mean? And to be a champ of the world, in the way he was at 19, it's a lot of pressure.
But when you met him before he had gone pro like that, right?
He was seemed like a happy-go-lucky kid, you know what I mean? But he was in a little bit of trouble as a kid, you know what I mean? But he wasn't really a bad kid, you know what I mean? Right. He was bad, I guess. He was pretty bad, but when I met him, he was pretty cool. Yeah. I just knew him from meeting him, you know what I mean? I didn't hang with him as far as back home in Brooklyn.
On the team and shit?
Oh yeah, we hung out in Colorado Springs and stuff. Right. And he'd come in the room and put me in the headlock or whatever and stuff like that. He was like a bear, you know what I mean? I'm here, I'm a little skinny white kid, he's throwing me and tossing me around. But he was cool. We're all cool, you know what I mean? And to this day, we're still pretty cool.
Yeah. Who else? Who else was?
Yeah, I want to know. Tell me about all. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say. So I wanted to know, how did the movie come about? How did that even happen?
It happened. It actually happened. It was talk about a movie years before it even got made, and it went through a bunch of different people. Mark was always going to play me, but there was a bunch of different people that was going to play Dickie at the beginning, and they come up when there was someone a bunch of names. I can't really think of the names, but there was a bunch of them, and finally they come up with Christian, and Christian nailed it no tomorrow. You know what I mean? He wow, he was so good.
What was it like watching your life
It wasn't that bad. No, it was cool.
I'm so curious.
It wasn't that bad.
Even worse.
Well, Dickie's seen it, and he was going out of his mind. You know what I mean? He's like, and then I got a funny story. As I say this all the time, is we're out in LA. Well, out in LA. We're in LA now, but we're out here and watching it at the Paramount Studio, whatever, doing the dry run or whatever it's called. They show it. So we're out there watching it, and there's a part where Dickie's jumping out of the window. When my mother knocks on the door, the cops or whatever it was, knock on the door, Dickie goes, whoa, out the window he goes, right? So Dickie's looking at it like he didn't do it. So Mark's hitting me going, look at your brother. So Dickie's got this look on his face. So the movie gets over and Mark says to Dickie, when you jumped out of the window, he goes, you didn't do that? He goes, because you looked like you didn't do it. The way you were looking. He goes, yeah, I effing did it. He goes, but fucking, there was no fucking barrels under me. I goes, I knocked myself out. I went out the third floor, not the second. He goes, there was no fucking barrels under me. He goes, I knocked myself up. I get up. He goes, they didn't catch me. I goes, oh, man. That's him.
Funny.
No wonder why his back's
those
killing
aren't
him.
your actual sisters, though, right?
No, but there's 7 of them.
But those girls are sisters in the movie, right?
What do you? No, yeah, I guess they're sisters.
You mean
actresses?
You talking
about I can't remember, but I remember Sheila telling me she found those girls, but I think in real life those girls are sisters. But they're not your sisters.
I think one of the sisters, and that was Conan O'Brien's sister.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I don't think they're
Sister
all sisters.
O'Brien?
Yeah, maybe.
Sister O'Brien.
You couldn't resist.
Yeah, because she had the reddish
I haven't seen the movie in a long time, but it was fucking awesome. I went to the premiere. I met him at the premiere.
Yeah.
I think I actually have a picture with you and Buddy McGirt. And,
Buddy, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Shoot.
That fucking guy.
It's amazing.
Buddy,
Now, Buddy was training. He
Toro.
was he was Arturo's guy.
Yeah,
right.
Buddy's a good guy, great trainer.
And he still
Anybody
lives in
want-
Boston, Mickey. I was like,
Yeah, I'm
you got
outside.
it.
He's
No,
like- he's like
I
the
know. I
pride
said
of
that's what I said. I
Lowell,
said
yeah.
that's what we were
Lowell.
talking about. I
Dude,
said
if we kept him here,
I
they'd
know.
come here and hunt us
That's
down.
what I said. I said
Give us back our jewel.
Oh yeah.
I said that. I said
Yeah.
you could never. I mean, like literally.
He could
yeah.
never leave.
I'm leaving.
They own him. And now,
No.
Oh, now he's talking about it. That's breaking
No,
news.
you
Anytime
Yeah.
he wants
yeah,
to leave,
no,
they
no.
just pull him back.
Yo,
in.
he's gonna make a move. But
No,
only in the
just
winter
vacation.
months.
Just vacation.
No.
You're gonna go down for good?
can't-
Oh
No.
yeah, I think so.
This can't be happening
Oh.
right here in this podcast. I mean, literally, like the room's gonna start melting.
Nah, I'm
Yeah.
good.
He's
I
going.
gotta-
He's going to Florida.
Yeah.
He's going to Florida.
100%.
Florida. Wow.
And by the way, you know,
By the way, do you know how many people are like in tears right now listening to this podcast? This is
I
maybe
don't
the
know.
most
I don't know if we're
depressing
big and
news.
low. I don't know if
This
we're
may
big
be
and
the
low.
most
Maybe we'll be that way
depressing
after
news in
Maybe,
Boston
yeah.
ever.
You know, stock in sunscreens is going to go up with Mickey in Florida. Man.
Oh damn right.
The people I knew that moved down during the pandemic were people looking to party, didn't want to deal with fucking taxes, the lockup. They say
You knew a lot
taxes,
of
but
rich
you're
people.
right.
Yeah, a
No,
lot
some
of
of
rich
the-
people.
Rob did Entourage and met
Yeah,
all
it was-
the
no,
richest
Boca,
people.
they moved down to
They're
Boca.
like,
No,
yeah.
but I have some wealthy friends that moved to Nevada, and I have some wealthy friends that moved to. I mean, I don't know what the tax difference is in Texas, but they moved to Texas.
Here's the
and
thing that I
Florida.
have
but
to
most
say.
of the people I know went to Florida were girls, like Instagrammers.
Well,
like-
here's
like
the thing that I have to say about
influencers.
Rob that
Yeah.
I love is like when I look at Rob, like,
Yeah.
well, Rob, meeting Rob, of course, like he had this incredible success with Amongst Friends, which is, of course, one of the great movie. If you haven't seen
Thank
it,
you.
definitely check it out.
Thanks.
And then his brothers were bartenders at the time who have now gone on to do like
Yeah, yeah.
incredible things,
Well,
writers,
one
lawyers.
was bartending his way through law school.
Yes, no, yeah, totally.
He
But I'm
wasn't,
saying,
like,
but I'm just
entirely
saying
aimless,
that's
yeah.
when we were all
Yeah.
hanging out. So
Yes,
we would have
yes.
so much fun because they would bartend,
Yeah.
and then they would come back, and there was an apartment where we would
Yeah.
all
their
go
apartment on
crazy
Larrabee?
because then
Yeah.
we would just like have all this
Yeah.
like liquor in the house.
It was fun.
There was this little
yes.
tiny apartment over on Larrabee, and I remember in West Hollywood,
Yep.
and we just all would have like a great time.
Yeah. No, that wasn't my place. He's looking at me. No,
Yeah.
I didn't live there. No, that was my other two brothers. That Soleil was super close with, you know?
And
So
then
your
of course,
brothers are lawyers?
No, one of
one is-
them's a lawyer. Not every
one's an
Jew's a
amazing
lawyer.
writer.
So one you get into trouble and he gets you out.
No, one's a lawyer, one's a podiatrist.
One's
you get in trouble,
one's
he
an
gets you out.
incredible writer.
Oh, they're all in this.
One's an
fucking
incredible writer.
business
One's
now.
an amazing
Crazy world.
And they're
Yeah, if
they're
I got in
great.
trouble, theoretically, he could get me out if I could get in touch with him. But he,
get in
he
touch
probably
with him.
wouldn't respond for like a day or two.
Go fuck
I
yourself,
try not
Rob.
to get in trouble.
I remember
man, you know?
something one night. I remember Danny and you and I on La Brea. And do you remember my brother had that like little? It was like an apartment, but it was just a little one room. It was like a tiny little room, right?
Maybe I remember.
And Danny,
spending
do you
time
remember
with
that? I
Vito.
remember you guys like we climbed up or scaled a wall or something. Do you remember this?
I remember the
No.
apartment was across the street from Undefeated, before, obviously years before,
Yeah,
on the Brea. Mhm.
yeah. Do you remember something about scaling walls and jumping? Something like that.
I don't remember. but I believe
I
it.
just,
got stories.
I was
I
so
believe
lucky,
it.
you know, because I guess I grew up with brothers, so I
Yeah.
always was so fortunate to have like the greatest guy friends ever.
Yeah.
And then I had like some amazing
Well,
girlfriends
look
that were
at
my
your
friends since I was
doc.
2
Your
years
doc
old.
is just like
Just so
packed
fun.
with great dudes
Yeah,
calling
great
you, hey,
dudes.
Soleil.
But
Hey,
I-
Soleil. It's something
Yeah.
like, it's just like,
It was
You
a
know,
love-
it's like, yeah.
a love letter to a lot of love.
Because I
Yeah.
love that you showed the best of your youth in L.A. and New York. You got
New
the
York.
West and the East.
yeah,
That's what I
that
love
skate
about
culture shit is crazy.
Yeah.
With the
The
Harold
West Coast
Hunters
East
and
Coast.
the
Oh,
fucking-
Harold and Justin.
Did you ever see that movie, Kids, Mickey?
No.
No.
Oh,
it. That was a good movie.
Put me on the spot.
Yeah.
I love the honesty.
Mickey was
though.
like, no, not interested.
Flat out, yeah. No, no, I
I
haven't.
know
No,
he was
I'm
gonna say
not
no,
saying.
Not right now.
No, she's
I'm
not
not.
in it.
I'm
She's
not.
not in it.
Oh, I don't know what he's talking about.
No, we were just talking about these guys that movie
Oh,
Kids. I was like,
no,
Mickey,
I
you ever
don't
see it? No.
He's like, absolutely
Mickey's the
not.
best, man.
I guess.
Yo, you guys gonna link up in Tulsa next week, Danny?
They're gonna be
Yeah,
together.
absolutely. They got me there shaking hands and kissing babies.
Yo, you guys gotta hang out, man. Mickey's
Yeah,
fucking
definitely.
hysterical. Yo, Mickey, tell
Wow.
tell everybody really quick before we like jump out of here. Tell everybody really quick what's going on with Live Train.
Yeah, well, we started Live Train. It's coming out soon. It's a mobile app you can train with. We have MMA, boxing, and wrestling right now.
But it's an opportunity for people
Opportunity
to
for
train
people
with
to train
like,
with
people
like
that they
people-
idolize.
Yeah, people idolize as far as wrestlers, boxers. We have different fighters, a lot of boxers on the app. Olympic wrestling people. It's gonna be it's a great thing. It's especially now with this pandemic and stuff like that. People are kind of leery about going to gyms or whatever. Here you can go on the app and you can train with your hero or whatever. You can or just sit down, do a mindset, train with them, whatever it may be. It's gonna all be available.
Yeah, I think it's great. When I was talking to Dave, who started it with you, it was one of those things that seemed pretty altruistic from both sides, right? Mm-hmm. It was great to give people the opportunity to train with people that they look up to, right, and learn from, right? Like the same way you could get somebody a cameo and wish somebody happy birthday, right? It's an amazing opportunity for that. Yes. But it was also for a lot of the guys who haven't had their life story turned into movies, who haven't transitioned into other careers. It's an amazing opportunity for them to keep doing what it is they do, right? Get paid for it, and kind of pass the torch to other people that want to learn. So
exactly, yeah. And people feel comfortable just the one-on-one aspect. They don't like being in a big gym with someone or whatever it might be, or they don't feel comfortable, And so we got a bunch of great people in it to be comfortable and to like work with people, instead of being timid. Yeah, you don't have to be. It's we got like Alex and Dave behind it, and with the developers, they're working with developers, and it's gonna be a great thing. So
yeah, sorry, Alex, I
join
didn't mean to cut you out of that
conversation.
Yeah, I'm still not sure who's who in the whole thing, but so it's Alex, Dave, and you. It's the three guys. So
that's awesome.
It's fucking awesome. I think it's gonna be really cool.
Yeah,
we're gonna go on and as soon as we figure out how to do podcasts, we're gonna go on and teach other people how to.
Exactly.
We're gonna train you
the Cray app.
As soon as we figure it out, the Cray on live train.
You could be Cray trained.
Cray trained. I like Cray trained.
I like that. Cray
trained. Not bad. Cray trained. It sounds like Cray trained. Like
let's call a lawyer. Call your brother.
Oh my God.
Cray trained.
Cray trained.
This is how close me and Sean are. I haven't eaten all day. I'm hungry. I'm delirious.
He
feels my pain.
He feels your pain?
Yes, I should be hungry, but he feels it for me.
Sure thing.
That brotherly bond.
Everybody's got to see Kid 90. If you haven't seen Kid 90,
you must.
On Hulu, you got to see Soleil's movie. You got to go back and watch Micky Ward's fights with Artur Gatti. Watch The Fighter, but most importantly, download Live Train.
Yes.
Sean Chase, you got to go eat at this fucking restaurant. You got to go there. Stone Street Cafe.
And watch,
Rob Weiss, you got to Venmo me money. Send me some motherfucking money.
And watch Punky on Peacock, too.
Is that on there?
It is now, yes.
Yes, it's on there. And you've got to go visit the Outsiders.
Do you still get residuals from Punky Brewster?
Oh, so here's
is that even possible?
Like from the
I don't
old
get residuals.
Punky,
from
it's
Entourage
you
anymore.
get like I love it. Like you get like a check of like 50 cents, here and there.
That's
yeah, but do you get that 75,000 times a year? Like how often does that come?
I didn't own like the original, and it's interesting because this brings up a much bigger conversation. But at the time, like young girls, we weren't treated the same way as like young boys in the business. So
like Webster.
So you could have like, you know what I mean. So it's
you
a
think
fascinating.
Webster's still getting big checks?
Oh no! Webster
I mean, this is by the way, this is a whole other podcast episode.
We should do this podcast. We'll be back with Soleil in like
please
5
around
minutes.
Women. And anyway, and then you have to go visit the Outsiders House. Truly,
yeah, I got to get to Tulsa.
It's such a remarkable, incredible. Danny, I love you so much. What you've done is really remarkable, and it's also going to really be so amazing for so many futures to come of children and around education. And I just love it, and I love you, and I really am so grateful for you.
I think it's pretty monumental to take like something from Tulsa like that, you know what I mean, and grow it into something that becomes pop culture and spreads like the work.
Absolutely, and isn't it incredible
not the movie,
to
but
see
the book and the culture
I really think you're also an inspiration to so many people, because the heart of what someone can do with that much heart that creates meaningful change and impact, and what Danny's done, I think is really remarkable. And I'm really grateful for the being.
I appreciate it.
Jump Around has got to be played more than any other song from the fucking what year was that? 90s.
92.
There's not
92.
What other song from the 90s gets
know.
played more than Jump Around?
No,
currently?
it's amazing. I mean,
I'm a
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on, and Soleil, always great. Micky, when you come to Tulsa, let me know if you need anything. And
definitely. Congrats on your sobriety, Dan.
I appreciate it, man. It's
keep
a better
on,
life.
man. Keep on. I haven't had a drink in 2 years, Danny. I quit drinking 2 years ago.
I seen that actually on the thing. It's fantastic. I'm glad we're all here. And
hell yeah.
With
brother.
that being said, everybody else who's on there, man, it's good hearing you, and look forward to seeing you guys in person sooner than later.
Yes,
I think that's one of the incredible things.
I'll see you Friday, Saturday.
Just to add to what Danny was saying is is that there's so many people, and I think you see it through the doc, where there's those of us that are so fortunate to be here, and then there's those that didn't make it out. So to be able to look at the people you love and to know the depths that we went to, and that the pain that so many friends were feeling that we didn't realize
I'm grateful for the time we're in. One of the great things about right now, because there are a lot of bad things too, but one of the great things, we are in a time where there's no shame with mental health issues.
and that's what I was going to say.
And you should be able to talk about it and like share it.
Absolutely.
We chop it up on here
all
about
the time.
like anxiety, shit like that. You have to be open about it. I try to communicate with my 5-year-old son. How are you feeling? What's going on? What's making you sad? Like, let's have a conversation.
And that's so amazing. And I think one of the things that's been so much so beautiful and that I'm so proud of in the conversation with Kid 90 is that people have been sharing their stories with me, and the fact that we can open up this dialogue, and to your point, there doesn't need to be shame around it. And I think it's so important that we're talking to our young people, and that we also listen to those that are so quiet so often, because we don't always know what one another is going through, and to reach out to the people that we love and say, I love you. And if we haven't heard from somebody for a while, just like that touch point. And so when I see Danny, it's emotional for me in a way, because I also know like there are those of us, those are the people we love that didn't make it out, and then to see him doing so well and to be here with you, it's a beautiful like nostalgia and like living our lives with purpose.
Yeah, it's tricky when you hear somebody as talented as Danny is, when they say that they have to come to terms at a certain point in their life with making a transition. Like, it's scary. And we've all
been there in different ways,
there,
right?
Because every time I'm between a show, I go, is there going to be another show? Do I have to, like, think about what I'm going to do different with my life? Like, what am I going to become? It's not so much about identity as much as it is lifestyle and focus and what is it. But
and also crazy, living in the moment and the now of embracing, like I know for me with the kids, like it's been such a big realization. I'm like, wow, like, oh my God, like I'm a mom with these kids. I'm like, this is so, because of so many of the transformations in my life. And at the same time going, you know what, I'm just going to like surrender. I believe that like believing is seeing. It's not always seeing is believing. And just like, you got to have that faith. And wherever you go, whether it's a church, a temple, meditating, whatever that is, like having that faith within to really like go on that journey of self-discovery, I think is like one of the greatest journeys in our lives, and to just be like, okay, like I'm gonna go for it and like make the leap into the unknown at times. And I think often the things that scare us most are the things that we need to
I mean, look, I made the leap into the unknown with this fucking podcast.
Dude.
I was like, come on, I'm not doing a podcast.
How is that going for you?
I can't even bring myself to watch it or listen to it. I hate the sound of my own voice.
What are you talking about?
I don't watch this shit.
You got a great voice too.
Great.
I don't watch it. I don't listen to it. Sean's the arbiter or whatever. He's like, this is good. I cut this. I did that. Okay, bro. You go, bro. You do you. Yo, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you so
Big
much.
Shout out to Danny Boy Soleil. I love you.
So
You're
much.
the best.
I love you.
So inspiring, Mickey. I love you too.
Love
You're
you, buddy.
inspiring.
Thank you.
Live Train.
Live Train. Micky Ward. David and Alex's partners.
Kid 90, check it out.
Alex,
please.
Kid 90, please check it out. Punky Brewster, check it out. Soleil Moon Frye, I love you.
Keep listening to the Cray.
And keep listening to Cray.
Yes.
Okay.
The Cray.
Boom.
The Cray.
The Cray.